My sister stole every guy I dated over the years, so I finally set her up with someone who would completely destroy her life and make her regret ever crossing me. My name is Mia and I am 27. For as long as I can remember, my sister Emily has always stolen every boyfriend I ever had. No matter how much I liked someone or how happy I felt with them, she somehow managed to charm them, manipulate them, and take them away from me. At first, I tried to laugh it off, telling myself that maybe it was just bad luck, or that she did not know what she was doing. But after many years, it became clear that this was no accident. Every relationship I had built, every moment I shared with someone I loved, she somehow managed to destroy, and each time it hurt me more than the last. I felt angry, frustrated, and sometimes even ashamed that I could not stop her. But eventually, I realized that I could not let this continue without taking action. I needed to protect myself and teach her a lesson she would never forget. I began watching her closely, quietly observing the type of men she liked, how she acted around them, and how easily she manipulated every situation to her advantage. I was not trying to hurt anyone innocent, but I knew that the only way to stop her was to outplay her at her own game. I spent weeks planning, thinking about every detail, and waiting for the perfect opportunity. Finally, I found the right person. A man who was charming, intelligent, and exactly the type she could not resist. I introduced them casually, pretending that it was just a friendly setup. Nothing serious, nothing suspicious. Emily did not suspect a thing. She smiled, she flirted, and she slowly started falling for him, just like I predicted. As days turned into weeks, I watched from afar, feeling a strange mix of satisfaction and nervousness. This time, things would not go the way she expected. Unlike every other boyfriend I had lost to her, this one was different. I knew he would slowly reveal her weaknesses, expose her lies, and bring her life into chaos. I did not want anyone to be hurt too badly, but I wanted Emily to learn a lesson. For the first time, she would feel the fear and helplessness that I had felt every time she took someone from me. It was a strange feeling, watching someone you have loved hurt others, but knowing that justice was finally happening felt right. During this time, I also reflected on myself. I thought about all the heartbreak, the tears, and the loneliness I endured because of her actions. I realized that I could not let my happiness depend on other people, and that I needed to take control of my life. I focused on my work, my friends, and the small joys that I had ignored, while I was distracted by Emily's actions. I knew that this plan was not just about revenge. It was about protecting myself and finally finding peace. And as I saw Emily getting closer to him, smiling and thinking she was in control, I knew that the storm was about to begin. Weeks went by, and Emily started sharing personal things with him. She told him about her past, her dreams, and her plans. She was comfortable, too comfortable, thinking she could handle him like she handled every other boyfriend. But he was different. He was patient, observant, and slowly started to turn her world upside down. He noticed her lies, her manipulations, and her arrogance, and he began to plant doubts in her mind. Every move she made started to backfire. Her confidence began to fade, and she did not know why. I watched silently, feeling a strange relief and satisfaction that this time, justice was finally happening. Emily tried to impress him, tried to manipulate him, and tried to control the relationship like she always did. But nothing worked. Every attempt she made to gain power over him only made things worse. Slowly, her life began to spiral. Friends started to notice that something was wrong, and she began to feel nervous and afraid. For the first time, she was not the person in control. For the first time, she felt the fear that I had felt every time she took someone from me. And while I felt a little sad that it had come to this, I also felt relief. Finally, I could see that her actions had consequences, and I could begin to move on with my life. After several more weeks, Emily's life started to fall apart slowly but surely. The man I introduced her to was not what she expected. He was smart, observant, and controlled every situation without her even noticing at first. She tried to use her charm and manipulate him like she did with everyone else. But he was different. Every lie she told, every small trick she tried, only made things worse. She started to argue with him more often, to feel nervous about every conversation, and to wonder if she was making the right choices. For the first time in her life, Emily felt helpless. She did not know how to fix anything, and she did not know who to trust. It was a feeling she had never experienced before, and I watched from afar knowing that this was the justice I had waited years for. Her friends began to notice that something was wrong. Emily started complaining about how he was changing everything, but no one could see that she was responsible for her own problems. She became nervous around people, afraid that her lies and manipulations would be exposed. Every day, her confidence faded, and the perfect life she thought she controlled began crumbling. She could not control him, could not control the situation, and could not control her own emotions. I watched and felt a mix of relief and sadness. Relief that she finally learned a lesson, and sadness that it took so much time and pain to reach this point. During this time, I also focused on myself. I tried not to let Emily's actions affect me anymore. I spent more time with friends who truly cared about me, worked on my career, and enjoyed small moments of happiness I had ignored for years. I realized that protecting myself and finding my own strength was more important than revenge alone. Watching Emily struggle was part of the lesson, but I knew I had to keep living my life and not let her control my happiness any longer. Slowly, I felt stronger and more confident in myself. I knew that I could finally move on, and that no one could take my joy away without my permission. Eventually, Emily realized that things were out of her control. She tried to argue, to manipulate, and to fix everything, but nothing worked. Her relationship with him collapsed because she could not handle the situation. Friends and family noticed her problems, and she began to face the consequences of her own actions. For the first time, she understood that stealing from others and trying to control everyone around her could backfire. She felt helpless, vulnerable, and afraid. And while I did not want anyone to be seriously hurt, I knew this was the only way she could truly learn that actions have consequences. By the time everything ended, I felt a strange mix of emotions. I was relieved, because I knew I had protected myself and finally seen justice. I was a little sad thinking about all the years I lost and the pain I felt, but I also felt stronger than ever. Emily learned her lesson the hard way, and I could finally focus on my own life. I learned that happiness comes from protecting yourself and choosing the right people around you, not from waiting for someone else to change. I felt free, strong, and confident that no one could take my peace away again. This was my moment of closure, and I knew that even though life could be difficult, I had the strength to handle anything on my own. After that, I continued my life with confidence. I focused on my dreams, my goals, and the people who truly loved me. Emily tried to apologize later, but I did not feel anger anymore. I felt peace, because I knew I had learned my lesson too, that life rewards patience, careful planning, and self-respect. I would never let anyone steal my happiness again, and I would always remember that protecting yourself and learning from life is more important than anything else. And from that day on, I felt stronger, wiser, and free to live my life on my own terms.